melody where the music's always bright. From history to theory, we'll keep your spirits light. Tune in for the stories, the rhythms and the groove. Join us on this journey, there's always more to prove. The melody, where every note's a thrill. The melody, welcome to the Melody Podcast with your favorite host, James Shelton. James Shelton. James Shelton. James Shelton.
Welcome to the Melody Podcast. I'm your host, James Shelton. Today we're talking about Freddie Mercury, the frontman for Queen. So Mercury was born Faroka Bocera on September 5th, 1946 in Zanzibar. Mercury's parents, Bomi and Jer Bocera, we're going to go with that, were Parsis, or followers of the Zoroastrian religion, whose ancestors came from Persia. After Bomia and Jer married, they moved to Zanzibar, Tanzania, where Bomi worked as a cashier for the British government's High Court. The family lived a fairly affluent life with a nanny and other domestic workers. Mercury's sister, Kashmira, was born in 1952. At the age of 8, Mercury's parents sent him to boarding school in Bombay, now called Mumbai in India, where he studied piano and spent his free time with his aunt and grandparents. It was not long before this charismatic young man joined his first band, the Hectics, in 1963. Following a bloody revolution on the islands in 1964, the family fled to London. Mercury attended the Earling College of Art and befriended a number of musicians. In 1969, Mercury joined a group called Ibex, Ibex, as their lead singer. He played with a few other bands before ultimately joining forces with his future band, Queen. Mercury was born with 4 extra teeth in the back of his mouth, causing his famous bucktooth grin. In fact, his nickname growing up was Bucky. Mercury never got his teeth fixed because he was afraid it would ruin his impressive 4-octave vocal range. Mercury met his future bandmates, drummer Roger Taylor and guitarist Brian May, around the time he moved to London in the 1960s. They met up with bassist John Deacon in 1971. The quartet, which Mercury dubbed Queen, played their first gig together that June. In 1973, Queen released their first album titled Queen. They quickly followed up with their second album, Queen II, in 1974, which they recorded in over just 1 month. The album was the first taste of the group's signature harmonies and music styles, including ballads, folk, blues, metal, pop, and rock, and included the single 7 Seas of Rye. Queen's music, however, really caught on with their third record, Sheer Heart Attack, also released in 1974. With a sound that has been described as a fusion of hard rock and glam rock, Queen had an even bigger hit the following year with their fourth album, A Night at the Opera, in 1975. Queen's popularity continued to soar through the late 70s and early 80s, with A Day at the Races in 1976, News of the World in 1978, and The Game in 1980. After the Works in 1984, the group's ability to sell albums began to wane, although Queen continued to draw huge crowds as a live act around the world. In addition to his talents as a singer and songwriter, Mercury was a skilled showman. He knew how to entertain audiences and how to connect with them. He liked to wear costumes, often featuring skin-tight spandex, and strutted around the stage, encouraging fans to join in on the fun. Artistic in nature, Mercury was also actively involved in designing the art for many of the group's albums. Mercury also lived a lavish a lavish lifestyle. He loves champagne and liked to collect art, once spending more than $400,000 on a set of hand-painted china. Always one for a party, Mercury threw elaborate celebrations. For one particular birthday, he flew a group of friends to the island of Ibiza. Ibiza. The occasion was marked by fireworks and flamenco dancing. By 1980, Mercury largely retreated from the public life. He did not promote or tour for Queen's next album, and rumors about possible health problems began to circulate. Before his death, Mercury worked in the studio with Queen. These efforts were released in 1995 on the Made in Heaven, the group's last album with all the original members. Gone but not forgotten, this collection of Mercury's final performances reached the top of the British charts. Mercury and Queen were recognized for their contributions to American music history when they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001. Queen's third album, Sheer Heart Attack, featured their first hit, Killer Queen, a song about a high-class call girl. The 1974 single hit number 2 on the UK charts and peaked at number 12 in the US. Unlike most of his other music, Mercury wrote the lyrics before the music, kind of like Eminem does. Mercury wrote the song Bohemian Rhapsody, a 7-minute rock operetta for the 1975 album A Night at the Opera. Overdubbing his voice, Mercury showed off his 4-octave vocal range on the innovative track. The song hit the top of the charts in Britain and became a top 10 hit in the United States. The 1978 hit We Are the Champions off of the album News of the World became a top 10 song in the United States and in Britain. It was featured on a single with We Will Rock You. Both songs have taken on a life of their own as popular anthems played at sporting events. Always exploring new and different sounds, Queen tried their hand at the big music trend of the time with disco-flavored Another One Bites the Dust from their 1980 album, The Game. Also on The Game, Mercury and the rest of the band showed their range as performers with the rockabilly-influenced 1980 hit Crazy Little Thing Called Love, which Mercury penned. In 1981, Queen collaborated with David Bowie to create Under Pressure, a number 1 hit in Britain. The song's distinctive bass line was later reported used by Vanilla Ice for his 1990 rap hit Ice Ice Baby. Although Queen's popularity began to wane in the mid-1980s, the group had a minor hit in 1984 with Radio Gaga. Pop musician Lady Gaga took inspiration for her stage name from this song. In addition to his work with Queen, Mercury released several solo albums, including 1985's Mr. Bad Guy. He also collaborated with opera singer Montserrat Caballero for the 1988's Barcelona. One of Queen's most notable performances was in 1985 at the Live Aid charity concert. Simply dressed in a tank top and jeans, Mercury led the crowd through some of the band's greatest hits with great energy and style. He got the thousands of music fans at London's Wembley Stadium to chant along to We Will Rock You. For many who watched the event live or on television, Queen gave one of the top performances of the day-long event, which was organized by singer and activist Bob Goff and songwriter Midge Uri to raise money for victims of famine in Africa. Inspired by the event, the band wrote the hit One Vision. Off stage, Mercury was open about his bisexuality, but he kept his relationships private. He was engaged to Mary Austin and had a 7-year relationship with Jim Hutton until his death. Austin met Mercury in 1969 when she was a 19-year-old music store employee and he was a 24-year-old on the cusp of stardom. They quickly began dating. Mercury wrote the ballad Love of My Life for Austin. In 1973, Mercury proposed. The wedding was called off when he revealed to her that he was bisexual. The pair remained close, and Austin tended to Mercury after his AIDS diagnosis. Mercury entrusted most of his estate and his London mansion, the Garden Lodge, to Austen, who later married and had 2 kids. All of my lovers asked me why they couldn't replace Mary, but it's simply impossible, Mercury said in a 1985 interview. The only friend I've got is Mary, and I don't want anybody else. To me, she was my common-law wife. To me, it was a marriage. We believe in each other. That's enough for me. Mercury met Hutton at an Irish hairdresser in 1980s at a gay nightclub in London. Mercury offered to buy Hutton a drink. Hutton didn't recognize the superstar and turned him down. The pair reconnected a year and a half later at another nightclub. This time they began dating. Hutton moved in with Mercury less than a year later. Although Mercury never came out, the couple stayed together until Mercury died of AIDS in 1991. After Mercury's death, Austen reportedly kicked Hutton out of the Garden Lodge. Hutton later wrote a book about his relationship with the singer, Mercury and Me. He died of cancer in 2010 at the age of 60. The day before his death, on November 23, 1991, Mercury released a statement. I wish to confirm that I have been tested HIV positive and I have AIDS. I felt it correct to keep this information private to date to protect the privacy of those around me. However, the time has come now for my friends and fans around the world to know the truth and hope that everyone will join with my doctors and all those worldwide in the fight against this terrible disease. Longtime friend and bandmate Roger Taylor provided some insight to Mercury's decision to keep his battle with AIDS private. He didn't want to be looked at as an object of pity and curiosity, and he didn't want circling vultures over his head, Taylor said, according to a report in Entertainment Weekly. The rock world mourned the loss of one of its most versatile and engaging performers. To honor his memory, the Freddie Mercury tribute concert for AIDS awareness was held in April of 1992 at the Wembley Stadium. A diverse range of rock acts from Def Leppard to Elton John performed to celebrate Mercury and advance the fight against the disease that took his life. That same year, Mercury's mock operative masterpiece Bohemian Rhapsody appeared in the movie Wayne's World and made a return to the Billboard 100 pop charts, illustrating its timeless appeal. Released in 2018, the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, starring Mr. Robot's Rami Malek as Mercury, follows the rise of Queen leading up to the legendary live performance in 1985. Following the movie's release, Queen's music saw a resurgence in popularity decades after the last studio album. The group's song Bohemian Rhapsody shot from the 87th place globally on Spotify the day before the movie's release to the 15th place 1 week later and hit the Billboard 100 for the 3rd time. Freddie Mercury / Queen's top 5 songs. And of course, I'm sure you can guess what the number 1 song is. Number 1, Bohemian Rhapsody with 2.6 billion streams. Number 2, Don't Stop Me Now with 2 billion streams. Number 3, Another One Bites the Dust with 1.9 billion streams. Number 4, Under Pressure with 1.6 billion streams. And number 5, Crazy Little Thing Called Love with 900 million streams. Now, with the previous biographies in mind, and this one, of course, and future ones, of course, the streaming numbers are simply based on Spotify because everything I do is with Spotify. You guys know that. So these are Spotify numbers. I'm sure that Bohemian Rhapsody is probably 14, 15, maybe 20 billion streams worldwide if you count all streaming platforms, CD sales, There's times we don't even know if it was listened to or not because it was on a CD. So there you go. That's the streaming numbers for that. Go to shopmelody.com to check out the full biography and to check out our new line of Melody apparel. We have new t-shirts in the store. Go check it out. Share this podcast with your friends and family. Give us a rating of 5 stars. You can give us 4 stars, but make sure you get that rating. 4 stars or more. No lower than that. I appreciate it at least. And hit that subscribe button to make sure you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.